the sense sphere. You must listen to our demands.
Hello. We nearly lost time then because we're so busy looking at the thread, and I need to say hello to the thread now because it's great seeing the Aussies in there, especially. I know there's Americans in there and I know there's Brits in there, but I'm dual citizenship Aussie. So I want to first of all say hello to Moppy Cun TV. Hi, Brendan, big fan, you say. Now, you say you're on the Western Coast, and then I had to start the programme. Now, of course, I know that West Coast. I know Broome. I know Derby, Kununurra, going all the way up that coast. I remember backpacking all those years, and me and Jamie were going to do it this year. We're going to delay it a bit longer because of money. But gosh, yes, where are you? Good to see you. Divine and Dragons in of America. He'll be on the show tomorrow. Midday, big show tomorrow, big debate. Rob Fellows, hello. Good to see you. I also saw Garbage earlier, and I also saw, let's have a look if I've missed somebody else. That's a criminal, isn't it? Archibald Lazarus as well. Friends are in. And of course, we've got friends on the panel too. Now, it's a fantastic show. I'm going to actually start advertising what's on the show below. So if you can see some of the topics, you decide the topics, really, you can decide the running order. But there's some of the things we're doing. So welcome to our show. This is meant to be a bit of a detox. We try to be topical, honest, get things off our chest, and then we can get on with our life unburdened by Doctor Who troubles, anxieties, and concerns. I'm your friendly therapist, your local doctor, who still does meet you face to face. Our topics are much looser than my usual streams. The thread hopefully can ask us questions or actually lead us, but you can see some of the topics we're ready and primed to talk about if not. And of course, I just want to show you as well, if you just have discovered us of a recent date, that we have been churning out. We've been churning out the streams recently, as many as Sutek tossing time turds while he squats on that blooming TARDIS. I know, I'm churning out as many as him because he grew over the 50 years, apparently. That was a good one, the BBC Lies. And of course, we had to talk about what was Rtd talking about in San Diego. So please tune in on them if you've missed them. Of course, give us a like hike. Look at the size of that button. I'm sure you can give us a notification and you can give us a subscription as well. Yes, we have you surrounded. Oh, don't you love Daleks? Well, we've got more Daleks today. You will see more Daleks. And just to finish off my house business, so to speak, DM me on Sense the Sphere on X. Email me on sensorsphere@gmail.com. I try and reply to them all. We're making friends. I'm talking to new people who might come on. If you want to come on this show, if you've never been on any show before, I'm happy to talk because I was never on any show a year last. I've only been on a year. So yeah, please join us. So I think I need friends on now, don't I? So let's get Cybermat Strikes on straight away. Hiya, Cybermat.
Hey, Brendan, how you going? That chat's going wild. I see that they Moppy got you there. That's a great name.
Get me. I'm going to have to kill him. I want to know your address now. No, come and visit us in Mount Isa. I work at the Tourist Information Centre. Do you know what? I nearly got a job in Mount Isa. I suppose a lot of backpackers say that, I mean, the size of it. I had two very good friends who lived in Mount Isa for years. Absolutely love it. Majors Guild, saw you there as well. So, yeah, we'll get on with the thread, with the chat. Now, first item, we want a bit of nostalgia. This is a detox after all, so we can't kind of get straight into big controversies, although they're coming. Let's start talking about some of the business out there. So if I can just sort ourselves out, I'm going to keep that topics at the bottom so our thread can actually lead us a little bit. But first of all, get Miss Nostalgia here. I said on our Sunday show, so I'm helping the Aussies and the Americans out. Jon Pertwee was on a repeat of the Bruce Forsyth show. And there's Liza Goddard from Terminus, who also married Colin Baker, his first wife. There you go, Jon Pertwee. And although I showed this on the Sunday show, I'm showing this now, but I want to show you something I didn't show on the Sunday show. So this repeat was on BBC iPlayer, and you thought, oh gosh, Jon Pertwee was guest starring in it. And then, oh yes, and then he was in the show straight after, another repeat, and he was on Blankety Blank. There he is as one of the panelists, and actually one of his answers was Doctor Who. He's always plugging. He's a good showman, isn't he, Cyberman? He's always advertising.
Mate, what a presence. It's just, yeah. Even Dracula, yeah.
Well, I know, but it reminds me because he'd done the movies as well. So there's our Blankety Blank. The first ever Blankety Blank was with Terry Wogan. It was like BBC royalty. But actually, because I've got Aussies on as well, I'm not stupid. I know that, sorry, that's just to show you our version of Blankety Blank in Britain in the 70s into the early 80s. But for those of you who don't know, the Aussies know, they had Blankety Blanks. I think in America they called it the match game. And I remember seeing repeats of Blankety Blanks with Graham Kennedy in Australia. Did you see any of them, Cyberman?
That would have been before my time. I might have caught a few repeats with. I saw Graham Kennedy a lot as a kid, but I think I might even have. There was a few shows that was either Graham Kennedy or Ian Turpie was doing that we would have been watching. I think unless Ian Turpie might have been doing a remake, but someone in the chat probably knows more than me.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to spend a few moments on Jon Pertwee. So, Jon Pertwee was on the British repeat of Blankety Blank, 1979 episode. I just wanted to reference to the Aussies and to the Americans. There's the match game and Blankety Blanks. And of course, there you go. But he also did Who Done It in the 70s. And I have to say, when he left Doctor Who in 74, 70, as in, to me, it was all a blur like, as a little kid. On ITV, he was on Who Done It, and it was like a Cluedo murder mystery series, but with actors acting all, doing the parts, and he would be part of the interviewing of them, and one of them would give you a red herring and all the rest of it. And Who Done It was classic, but in a way, it was playing on his name, Doctor Who, and look at how he dresses. I mean, he was Mr. 70s cool with his medallion and everything.
Man, the mojo is huge there. He's just got so much mojo.
Yeah, and it just got me thinking, you've got Blankety Blank, he's one of those who goes on celebrity panel shows. He did the Navy Lark and various stuff, comedy. You can see there's Wurzel Gummidge. You can see the two panels of two of his Who Done It shows on the right. And in a way, it's a shame, I think, with Jon Pertwee, because everybody goes on about Doctor Who and Wurzel Gummidge. And yet, actually, he's so underrated as one of those who's man of many voices, great, comedy, great showman. And I actually think when you look back now, he's underrated.
I just think when you see people like all those people that you've put on, you don't see characters like that these days.
No.
The days of those kinds of people with that sheer magnetism, just you don't really see it now.
Well, you've got hello, Amelia Clark. I'm not going to read all your names out in full because that moppy got me. He would he would throw Ncuti out into space. Do you know what, Amelia? What I find fascinating, because we want to balance nostalgia and up to date on this detox. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, I'm going to try and stay good for another few minutes, but Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think Jon Pertwee had so much skill, and I think he has been underrated, believe it or not. It's Wurzel or it's Doctor Who, but he could run his own panel shows, and you know he can do a quick quip. He would. I can imagine him doing cabarets and stuff like that with ease. But
let's face it, these guys, whether it's John or Tom, they can read the phone book, and then the gravitas there is electrifying.
But he's one of those, if he went on, say, Terry Wogan's chat show, he would do different voices and he'd just get a laugh straight away. And he didn't always just do Wurzel. I mean, you've got him in 3 Carry On movies here, playing in Carry On Cowboy. He was some kind of soothsayer in Carry On Cleo. And then he was killed in Carry On Screaming. And actually, again, underrated and underutilized. He was only in a few Carry On movies, and yet he was one of the top comedy actors.
I remember, was it we had a show here, a kids show, where what was it? Was it Jon Pertwee? He was Super Ted, wasn't he?
Yes.
Did you guys have Super Ted?
Yes, we did. And was he the banana one as well? Was he in Banana Man?
Or was that the Goodies? I think that was Tim Brooke Taylor.
He did do Thread, help us out. I know Jon Pertwee's voice was used in. You've mentioned Super Ted. Banana Man, was it? I do remember he did something.
When Eric eats a banana, he is Banana Man.
Divine and Dragon, I think the comparison with Gatwa is almost embarrassing. Gatwa seems to have one note to his performances. Pertwee could do... This is what I mean. At the time, everybody thought he's a kind of comedy actor, Navy-like, blah, blah, blah. And he was parked there. But actually, let's face it, in his 5 years as Doctor Who, he played it so straight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, I think they say that him as the Doctor is the closest to his natural personality. So
possibly.
I think I've heard him say that.
Possibly. And I'm Garbage. I'm going to follow your advice from now on. Moppy's got a yellow card. Probably best not to read out every name. I'm going to try my bestest, sir. If anyone comes looking for me, I'm going to get Moppy. I know you've said
Garbage there. He said I saw Garbage said that it's almost as good as Hugh Janus.
Yeah, well, that's it. And there's loads of them. We have another person. Anyway, I've got my photographs from Longleat, and of course, he's our great showman. If I'm going to talk about Jon Pertwee for just a few seconds, there he is. I've met him. I haven't met him one-to-one. I've seen him in the same room a couple of times. I always tell you the story in '73 when Jon Pertwee did his tour of the UK with the Doctor Who exhibition, and I ran away and I missed it all because of the Daleks. But Jon Pertwee came to Middlesbrough. Good on him. He actually toured and he went to all the provinces. But of course, at Longleat, look at him, the showman. And this is what, 83. So he's been out the role 8 years there. And look at him. That is Doctor Who, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And he just owns it.
Oh, he did.
It must have been really hard being Peter Davison on the Five Doctors set with all the doctors standing around. There must have almost been relief that Tom wasn't there as well. Would have been.
Yeah. Well, Tom was the only thing. Yeah, on the set of Tom was at the Longleat, of course, for one of the days doing lots of autographs. Yeah. But I just couldn't queue all day. I thought I can't do that. Anthony Parkinson. John was an accomplished performer who enhanced Doctor Who. Gatwa is a self-insert who has helped destroy it. I saw there's been an argument in America about that, isn't there? About is Kamala a self-insert? I'm not getting involved, but that's the big argument over there, isn't it? Paul Richards. Good to see you. Gatwa is OTT and hyper. I know. I need to see in season 2 a different type of performance, but because they've done it back to back, I doubt that. And whereas Jon Pertwee had nuance and strong. I loved as a kid to see Jon Pertwee tell off an alien or tell off the Brigadier. He would be really serious. I remember in Curse of Peladon when he told off the High Council. Squabbling like a gang of school children. This is what you needed. He was a leader. He was brilliant.
Yeah, England for the English, good man. It's so direct.
But actually, what does everybody in the thread think when you watch a Jon Pertwee repeat of Doctor Who? Actually, he's quite strong, isn't he? He can get quite shirty.
I was watching Day of the Daleks this week,
Oh yeah,
and I just love that all that stuff in the old house with where he's getting into the wine cellar and everything and eating the cheese.
yeah. Oh yeah. He liked it. He liked to.
Just those moments of where he's you could just see him luxuriating in the role.
Yeah. Well, as Garbage says, and I'm not going to read out every name, of course, but yes, hail John. I mean, I think sometimes with this detox hour, I do want to make sure that in some of our fun at the beginning, we do just have a nice nostalgic warm blanket of going, oh, yeah, we're going to mention Ncuti today. We're going to mention San Diego, I'm sure, but it's up to you lot. But Jon Pertwee, I miss him.
Yeah.
If you got him on a show, of course, he's either going to be Doctor Who or he's going to be Wurzel, but he just gave you so much. And I think it's terrible, when people are called a showman, because I think that's too easy to say. He was a showman because he was professional. He was professional. Now, we've just seen in San Diego, Ncuti, Rtd, and Millie. Now, in one way, they were being professional. They did their commitment and they looked energized, but they acted silly a lot. They were in a kind of loving where you almost wanted them to get a bedroom. Whereas I think the proper show people would have just given you as much quality answers, quality quips, quality comedy. They try and it's hard to do. It's too easy for us to say he was a showman. No, that means he worked hard.
Oh, look, I mean, you can't even compare. I mean, that Comic-Con panel, the dynamics there with Ncuti and Rtd was, I found it quite awkward to watch because poor Ncuti looked like he was, hanging on what he was and wasn't allowed to say. He looked totally awkward. It was almost like he was looking for reassurance from Rtd, and I'm thinking, oh man, that's whatever it was hard to watch.
Yeah, I agree. And I know Rachel on our Sunday show was saying stuff. And then when she did her show the day after, which has done well, she saw a bit of body language. And yeah, we can mention that maybe. Hi, Paul. The third Doctor could become quite stern and angry. That scene in The Three Doctors where he shouts at Omega to take the device is very impressive. That's the thing. That's the range. Remember, he was only really known as a comedy actor. But in Doctor Who, he let rip.
Plus, he also he loves getting the old Venusian karate out and just in Get Day of the Daleks as well. He was picking up guns and blowing people away left, right, and center.
Yeah, well, we've obviously hit a note. Daz Blue, he took no prisoners in Day of the Daleks.
No,
especially with his messages. We will read Rtd in his messages, but Jon Pertwee's Doctor in Planet of the Daleks, he would quite happily talk about leadership and morals and stuff like that. But he just came across as just a wise alien. Do you know what I mean? And so, I like that. Anthony Parkinson, the Christmas trailer, which we might mention later, suggests Grinning Gatwa will be even worse next year. Yes, we need to stop the grinning and the crying. We need some acting. The range needs to be there. Divine and Dragon, Pertwee had gravitas that worked well. Here is a comic actor who could play it straight as an arrow. Brilliant. And actually, there is truth that a lot of our comedy actors can actually do straight really, really well. Last one for now, and then we'll move item. The Doctor Who podcast. Hello. I had it out on one who claimed that the Doctor would never become angry. Literally everyone... what's that? Everyone here, Ncuti did, even Jude. Oh, what? Cyberman, am I reading this wrong? My eyes have gone.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're saying that that the Doctor would never become angry, but every Doctor basically did.
Oh yes, I'm sure. So what they're maybe saying is Ncuti in Dot and Bubble at the end. An amazing performance when he was angry. But you just need to see Jon Pertwee on a regular basis, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't see that I don't agree that end of Dot and Bubble was a great performance.
No, it was. It is a great performance. Now somebody who just suddenly looks as though they're doing some acting. I mean, because really, from being not very present, he suddenly just delivered some lines with some strength. But that was it. I mean, nothing special. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
I got in the post yesterday. I was worrying about it. I was about to order it because I subscribed to Doctor Who magazine, then put it on my shelf, having looked at the pretty picture on the front, and that's basically the essence of it. What a waste of money, yeah. But obviously the specials are a bit different, and I couldn't remember if I get the specials with my subscription. Anyway, it arrived. Now it's interesting, this one, mind you. Talk about comparisons, Cybermat. Look at that photograph with Anthony Ainley and look at the magazine front cover. I remember all the Davison ones. This was my time.
I got that one right here.
Let's have a look.
Looks familiar. Maybe not. It's too many anyway.
Yeah. Well, those pictures on the right, I mean, that picture of Peter Davison in Photo Doomsday, I think. Oh, my God. Let's have a look. Oh, I know. You see, they're really out of their time. I can remember almost what I was doing. I can remember which day of the week, because I'd smuggle them into my haversack, because I'd get them from the newsagents, then I'd be in school. But you're hiding them and trying to keep them flat. And so there were lots of, and if you had PE, and you didn't want them to get wet or, with your sweaty socks and all the rest of it, all that stuff. I mean, chaos. But I remember those covers, and that was a happy time. Looking at that Peter Davison coming as Doctor, and then the Doctor Who Monthly, and some of those covers I love staring at. Now, the latest one on the left there, Missing Doctor Who, they're talking about the missing episodes again, and maybe they're doing a very good job of it. I haven't had a look yet. But it makes me think, Cybermat, that we didn't have any missing episodes found this year. All the rumor mill was going mad saying we're going to find something, but nothing. And then I saw, people said the only place on the planet they think there could be any missing episodes now, apart from in collectors' hands, is in Iran. And they said it would be too dangerous to go there, so we might as well give up.
Well, I feel like there's something out there. Look, it's always when you're not expecting it, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's been about a decade now, hasn't it, since we found anything?
Yeah. And my gut feel is that there's stuff out there. It's someone sitting on top of something.
Anthony Parkinson, the BBC annual report. Did you see my show about the lies? I got so told off by 2 trolls. Oh, yes, I remember the classic comics. Shows the youth audience is deserting the BBC in large numbers, and yet they've wrecked the show to chase after them. It is called madness, Anthony Parkinson. I agree with you. Why don't you get the bigger numbers elsewhere? But I've done so many saloons on missing the big target and going for the small one, haven't I? Amelia Clark mentions Cybermen were the best. Oh, I've got a few Cybermen picks coming up in a minute, Amelia. Just you hold your horses.
How much do you want? Do you want like a David Banks Cyberman back though? Like, where they're all just booming and getting angry. I really want them to just ignore the emotionless thing and go, bring David Banks back.
Isn't it funny? I prepare like mad thinking what we're going to talk about on these shows, and I've got some Cybermen tasty bits any second. I think Ncuti he's on his Doctor Who Monthly when he cries. Stuart Brown, Ncuti made an awful slutty remark about Pertwee that showed he had no understanding of the show. I have to say, I get very confused about some of Ncuti's statements about the old Doctors. One minute, he said in his performance he's got a bit of every Doctor, and I'm thinking, what, where? Well, how insulting. Mad McCann, he's on the plane to Iran now because I've said that. Yeah, you go first. I'll be behind you.
We'll back you up.
Yeah, we'll deposit you in behind the enemy lines. Keep in touch. Tell us if you find anything. Right. Okay. So there's the. Does anyone still get this? But I will look at this. The missing episodes. Garbage, and now you see garbage. Garbage has asked. He's got to have a yellow card. Look at that. Cybermen's tasty bits.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we've got some tasty bits coming up. My advertising never works. Archibald Lazarus, the magazine could do a feature on. I'm sure it's in the. I'm sure they'll have a mental health show. I think soon. Crimpling said, I saw YouTube the other day that claimed that the first 2 episodes of Marco Polo do exist, but in Iran. That's, I think, the same one I saw, Crimpling. So off you go, Madam McCann. Anyway, it's summer in the Northern Hemisphere, and of course, the Daleks are having their holidays. I thought you'd like a couple of Dalek pics. They always make me feel good. Look at that in a good old British country village. Look at that.
They look great, don't they?
It's just, I do want a Dalek, by the way. I do want, and I know they're £6,000 to £9,000. This is the sticky bit. I've been saying to my partner, I really would like, before I die, a Dalek. I'd like it in the hallway under the stairs. So when people walk right through our hallway, they'll get scared to death. But yeah,
you know what though? I didn't collect things, but I made the mistake of buying some of the B&M stuff.
Yeah.
And even just these small ones, like just having them around, I get this feeling now having them. So I went and got more of different sorts. I get the same. I know what you mean. There's something tactile about having even the old 80s classic TARDIS up there.
Yeah.
When I glance at it, my eye catches it. I just get this warm feeling. I find it very therapeutic.
Well, SG calls it the Daleks invade Little Hodcombe. It does look like that one. I mean, do you know that would be?
That's Doctor Who.
That's a dream. They look like the Day of the Dalek. Well, the first one does.
Yeah.
Garbage is garbage will need. This is supposed to be a detox, and I think he needs therapy now. Cyberman's tasty bits coming up. Get to where. I think he just wants me to keep saying it. Rob Fellows, Daleks off to the pub. I know. Can you imagine? Do you think they'd get you around in?
Well, at least they won't crash on the way home.
Oh, do you know, there might be a deal here. Look at this. Amelia Clark. I could make you a Dalek for £3,000. Oh, do you know what? Write to me, please, Amelia. Write to me. She's given me a sub. I mean, you know, I know someone who can get molds for Daleks. Oh, hold on. This is maybe the beauty of doing YouTube streams. I might get contacts here. And yes, Archibald Lazarus, you were right. And I like to do this because Cybermat is in Sydney, where they have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which was built by a Middlesbrough company. I always have to remind the Aussies. Dorman Lawn, big famous company in Middlesbrough. When I was in Perth, Australia, North Bridge Railway Bridge, it has printed on it in mould, Dorman Lawn, Middlesbrough. I'm a Middlesbrough lad. James Cook came from Middlesbrough. Before it was called Middlesbrough, it was called Martin. But there's the Tyne Bridge. Yes. I know you've got a bigger version, Cybermat.
Yes.
But size isn't everything.
No. If it's what you do with it that counts.
Exactly. PB Props, hiya. I was seeing some of your tweets or Facebook stuff. There was Ice Warrior Arms. I need to get back onto you on that one. I
love PB's channel. I love all the work that he does on there. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm continuing the detox because we're going to get controversial in a minute. But look, Daleks going to the fairground. I just love that. So there you go. Cool. I wonder if they'd do that one with the ducks with the hoop, you know, the Hulke duck. Used to do, what was that? Hey, it's Saturday in Australia. What was it? Grab a duck, pluck a duck.
Oh, pluck a duck.
That's it, pluck a duck. So yeah, I hope people are enjoying just the fact that, is this calming everybody? I mean, just to see a Dalek at a fairground, right? Or at Tyne Bridge. Here's another one. Look, they're on the arcades. Look.
Oh wow. Man, people they're really good too.
They are really good. That's the type of Dalek I want. I think the Dalek I want, if I'm allowed a fantasy for a moment, what does a thread think? I want a genesis of the Dalek. I need that battleship grey. Possibly a Planet of the Dalek. I also like those. Not the Dalek Supreme, because he has a torch on the front, and he's a bit like Jamie in the Magic Torch. No, I want a battleship grey Dalek. That's my fantasy.
That's it's funny because that's what I went and got the one with Davros, and I was like, oh, that's what I really want. And then I couldn't help myself. And then next minute I'm getting the Revelation ones and the
Yeah, I know. I'm staring at them all over.
and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I did want to start doing. But I really, really love them. So
yes, well, as somebody's just saying there, my rookie, are they playing Space Invaders? It's very possible. Major's Guild, Evil of the Daleks, said fancy. You see, sir, you've missed me actually making
read that one, Brendan.
Exactly. I know. I can't do two on one show, but yes. Hello, you've missed me. Garbage has told me off. I've made a mistake already. Concludes, hello, Michael. Of Rtd'S and Pet called people from Middles were smoggies. Yes, we are the smoggies. Yes. You go to a football match wearing nuclear radioactive gear.
Are smoggies like Shobogans?
How dare you? I know what you mean. No, it's just we joke about pollution, even though we don't really have it. Reese Roder, imagine Dalek showing you around a shipping yard, dock tour. Oh, clever, very good. Oh, it makes me think of them. Which alien used to go doctor? Is that a Sontaran? Doctor.
Yeah, that's a Sontaran.
Oh, absolutely. Garbage. Did the angry Dalek get angry and fire at the arcade machine? I'd love how he did the work the slots. Special weapons Dalek. I mean, he just had an attitude. He needed a detox. I don't think he could talk to people. Special weapons Dalek.
But I agree that the logic it never was missed on me. It's like, why aren't all Daleks special weapons Daleks?
I know. Well, of course, yeah. Because two special weapons Dalek can't be in the same spaceship, just like you can't have two male Siamese fighting fish. So SG's saying it was probably Stor, the Sontaran, Doctor, and yes, the Zygons, PB
Zygons, yeah.
Yes, we've all got to tune into PB Pop's channel. Now, Garbage, are you still there? Yes, he is. Talk about not reading names. I know, exactly. I know, I was on to sir. But you know that Cybermen's tasty bits I was offering, which I meant was we've got a Cyberman little bit. No, that's to make it sound worse. If you look at this shot, I mean, on the left, wasn't that mooted as one of the designs, possibly? You know, when they were going to bring the Cybermen back? Because I have to say, I'd love Doctor Who to go dark. I really would.
That is really dark, isn't it? Wow.
It is. Although when I saw the ones on the right from Attack of the Cybermen, they look a bit camp. They look as though they look too human. Look at his hands on his hips. I knew the one covering his private parts. What the hell's going on here? Look at it.
By the mid 80s, they started to have out of shape Cybermen as well.
Yeah,
pop bellies
it's a bit like when we had the Sontaran in Invasion of Time with the bushy eyebrows and the Cockney accent. Although in Genesis of the Daleks, when Sarah and is it Severin got to the top of the Thal rocket, can you remember the bit when she got a bit queasy and then that nasty guard pulled her back and threatened to kill her? And then he fired and he said, "Come on back down here." And he was Cockney as hell. Cockneys in Khalid City. Was that the Khalid? Thal rocket. Yes, he was a Thal guard. So yes, you see, I've just shown you the Daleks.
Those Thals were very different from the original Thals, weren't they?
Yeah, they had more clothes on and they weren't all blonde.
Blue.
Yeah. It's just that because of Davros being retconned, we're all worried about the Daleks coming back. So I prefer the Daleks to look like they did in the shots we've just seen. But the Cybermen won't come back as Cybermen, will they? They'll be the cyber race. But then equally, I look, out of those two shots, I would prefer the one on the left. But John Yulden says it's a bit Borg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I think I like the sort of the real time evolution of the 80s Cybermen, but I just wish they'd get back to like the descriptions of the Cybermen from like I think Jerry Davis's prologue, where he talks about Cybermen having the strength of 10 men, and I don't think they should be so literal with the emotionless side of things. I think that's where the 80s Cybermen are more fun, because there's a kind of menace to them. Whereas I think the modern Cybermen feel very more like robots. They don't really feel like people inside them.
Yeah. Well, Rt'S sounds like me, really. Dark Who is great, even in the Moffat era. I remember Rory talking to the Cybermen before and after the Doctor blows up a bunch of their ships. Yeah, you've reminded me of that. I forgot about that. KC Skyfire 77. I assume you mean the one on the left, because that grabbed my eye as a design. I thought, oh, please go dark. But in this fantasy nonsense that RTD's obsessed with, we might have them dancing. We could have moonwalking. We won't have the moon base. We'll have the Cybermen doing moonwalk. This is the future, isn't it? I mean, just don't bring them back. Please don't bring them back. I mean, just don't do it. Anthony Parkinson, you're correct. It might be cyber them. It's the cyber them. Yes, and Rhys Rhoda, we know that cyber woman in Torchwood. My God, she's getting plenty of business in Cardiff every Friday night. PB Props, did you know that in Dalek, the Dalek was supposed to be a classic style Dalek? Then the NSD style would be revealed in part of the ways as the new style. I didn't know that at all. I remember seeing lots of stuff behind the scenes, but I never saw that.
I wonder why it changed. Was it?
They were still negotiating for ages, though, weren't they? I mean, it wasn't guaranteed that episode. Terry Nation's estate was still playing hardball. Right. Let's get... Now, who's that? Quick quiz. Who is that?
That's Delgado.
It's Delgado. Good old Delgado in The Mummy Shroud 67, a Hammer movie, playing Hasmid. It's my cultural appropriation item. When I like to say, stuff you lot. Cultural appropriation is for the idiots. There he is. We had Tom Baker last week as in one of Sinbad's. But there you go. Good. Look at him there. He looks scary as hell.
Oh, he has fantastic eyes, Delgado.
He does. You can see why they appointed him as the master, can't you? I mean, when RTD at San Diego says it was so easy to pick Millie and Ncuti, and oh my God, it took seconds. Roger Delgado, hello, that would have taken microseconds to pick him.
He could be really warm and charming, and then just flip on a dime and just be creepy as hell.
Yeah,
it was an amazing performance.
So we've got Stuart Brown, hello. Love the two Cybermen and Earthshock standing around having a chat. Yes. You mean in the not the vaults? It's in the storage, isn't it? And they're just chatting like that, going, "How's your wife?" And are the kids doing well in school? Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, 25 meters certificate. Yeah, well done. Every time I watch Earthshock, I look at that, going, "Who was directing that?" KC Skyfire, watched Earthshock again recently. One of my favorite Cyberman stories. Did you see our stream on it recently? One of our Wednesday shows. We talk about that big time. Delgado in a Nehru jacket and black gloves. Iconic, says Anthony Parkinson. And yeah, we did a stream last week on Wednesday, Deadly Assassin, which was Peter Pratt, who actually gave me the biggest chills going. But as a human master, we've got the best one in front of us there, haven't we? Rhys Rhoda has been experimenting with a beard. Sinner said I look like Delgado's master. Yeah, I know.
That's a compliment.
Kind of a Spanishy kind of look. And Paul Richards, you recognize that? Yes, it's the Mummy Shroud, 1967. So yeah, there you go. A bit of nostalgia there. I'm doing well. Oh, now this is nostalgia. This sends chills down me much more than a Peter Pratt master. The Trial of a Time Lord, exterminate him. The big story about whether they're going to get rid of Colin Baker. Now, the reason I'm showing you that, right, is because when we're talking about, Colin Baker's future was in doubt. This was around the Trial of a Time Lord. I don't know if it was just before or after. But of course, the story now is about Ncuti Gatwa. Did you hear about this one, Cyberman?
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation, hasn't there? And I think there was an awkward moment in the panel at Comic-Con where it was pretty evident that things were not secure.
Right. Well, I'll just bring everybody up to speed, because then we can actually all place bets. So basically, the Mirror, who You see, are the Mirror right? They said Millie Gibson had been sacked. Now she is in season 2. Now whether Rtd's covered the cracks, I don't know. So it's a moot point to me whether the Mirror were correct in saying she'd been sacked or not. Now, in this case, they say Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor's future is in doubt. And here's a bit of the detail, folks, just so I'm properly delivering to you. The shock news emerged when Russell, Ncuti, and co-star promoted Series 2 at Comic-Con. US outlets have stated the plot leaves Ncuti's future open-ended. And Ncuti told that... Ncuti talks about the pressure of taken on the role. I understand that. The actor also said he had no idea if he'd stay for a 3rd season. And then the final bit, Russell was saying, we've got all those months of post production to come in season 2. It's a long way off, so no decisions yet. Now, they were talking about season 3 here. No decisions yet. And Ncuti... what does the thread think? Cyberman, what do you think? What do you think in the thread, everyone? Is Ncuti coming back after season 2? Would you want him back?
Look, I can't see how the BBC cannot give him the 3rd season, even if we're not, in love with it. Because, at the end of the day, I do feel like he's been served a shit sandwich, to be blunt. I think it's pretty evident after that Comic-Con panel that the brief that he's been given from RTD is just not right. It's he's been given the wrong end of the stick as far as I'm concerned.
Well, this is the big debate. So I'm asking the thread and yourself about whether Ncuti should, from what you've seen or from what you think's deserved, should get a season 3. Although it sounds as though they've left an open ending, a bit like they did with Colin Baker when they were thinking, which is why I showed you the Colin Baker article, because it takes me back to this horrible time when you didn't know whether they were just going to shunt the actor again. By the way, this is my big question, right? So there's rumours about should Ncuti stay or go, and actually in the end, will he have just gone? And it takes me back to all the nonsense we've had. Let me just get to the right one here. Peter Capaldi had to go, too old, they thought, for some of the viewers. And look what we got in replacement. Colin Baker being dismissed. Now, me and Rachel will talk about this on our channel. That why change the actor, the lead role, when it may not be the lead actor that's the problem? Just because you say you did get rid of Ncuti and they say, right, we're going to kind of boost Doctor Who again, but we'll change the actor, which is almost the same language they used about Colin Baker and the same they used with the arguments about Peter Capaldi. But it didn't change it, did it? We've got the ratings as evidence.
They need a new showrunner in there. After the Comic-Con panel, I was absolutely convinced, listening to RTD, that was the problem. The problems with the vision and the strategic direction of the show. You can keep changing the Doctor. It's until they fix their creative vision for where they're going with it. I think it's going to keep floundering.
That's how I feel. I'm going to check on the thread in a minute. So please give us your versions. I want to know if you want Ncuti to stay on for season 3, whether you think it's right that if they moved Ncuti from season 3 and got a different actor in, but I bet you that means we keep RTD. Which version do you want? I think to say I want rid of Ncuti and RTD is maybe asking too much, because we know how the media circles work. So what does everybody want? I really did think how Colin Baker was treated was disgusting. How Capaldi was treated was disgusting.
The thing is, the stuff that where Ncuti has been allowed to speak his mind about the ideas he had, I thought, that sounds like a fair. You've had a fair fist of this, and then he's been told, no, don't look at the past, and we just want you to be you. He's clearly been put there for a brief, but I don't think they're serving his Doctor well.
Well,
hey, Dwayne.
Yes, we've got Dwayne in Pure Historical. He's just been recording from his channel, The Sirens of Audio. So thank you for joining us immediately after, Dwayne. And
g'day, how are you guys?
Well, we're good. We've missed our nostalgia kind of detox. Now we're kind of going to toxify ourselves again and start debating.
Oh, so I came in at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just said, I don't know if you missed it, Dwayne. I've been saying to the thread and Cybermat, I don't think you can get everything. So, some people might say, look, to save the show, we get rid of Ncuti and we get rid of RTD. I don't think that would ever happen. The media circles don't do that. The rumors about Ncuti might leave after season 2 because it's been left open-ended. We're in the Daily Mirror. And so we're just discussing whether that would be fair, because I've mentioned Colin Baker. I thought that was terrible just because the show was where it was. Let's just change the actor. It didn't save the series, really. Peter Capaldi being dismissed, really, because they wanted to make a change for the youth. Nonsense. Big mistake. What are your thoughts, Dwayne?
Well, Ncuti is definitely not the problem here with this series. His characterization is the problem, which is down solely to the writer. I'm inclined to think that yes, I wouldn't be upset or think it was unfair if Ncuti went. The difference between Ncuti and Colin Baker is that Colin Baker really cared about the character. He knew what Doctor Who was. He knew how important it was to television at his time. His thoughts on Patrick Troughton are famous, and he had so much respect for the show. Ncuti doesn't know anything about the show. He has no respect for the show, which is, it's not important that he has respect for it, but I think that is a marked difference between he and someone like Colin Baker, for instance, even Peter Capaldi.
But he's been told by RTD, and that was evident on the panel. He's been told, don't go and look at this stuff. Don't go back. We want you for you, kind of thing. We want the Doctor to be you. That's bizarre.
RTD kept saying to go take the program forward. It has to keep moving forward. Well, I understand what he means by that, but he's almost been literal. Now, right, lads, I'm just going to bring the thread in on their discussions on this and see what you all think. Let's have a look. Boomer Doug, hello Boomer Doug. I know you were there, but I haven't got you brought in yet. Ncuti's gone. Otherwise, they would have used Comicon to promote his future. Rob Fellows, interesting that old article mentioned bringing back a previous Doctor. They always do, don't they? And we've seen that with David Tennant. Don't do it. Let's have a look. Over the Overseer, I don't think blaming Ncuti is the right thing for the BBC to do when the issues are clear with RTD. I'm with you on that one, and I think
agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
Archibald agrees with you, Cybermat. We should note this down in the chalkboard. The main fault for the abject failure of the 15th Doctor lies with the chief writer. David Harding, I think Ncuti's fate is linked to the series 2 ratings. If they improve, he could get a third series, but if they don't, I could see pressure being applied. I can see that would be true, David. I also think that we think that whose fault's that? Ncuti was saying at San Diego that he was quite surprised that he wasn't being given any steer. I've got a quote on it somewhere where he just said he was expecting a bit more kind of direction on it, but they said, no, we want you to be you. And actually RTD then did said at San Diego that he rewrote the scripts after what he saw in the rushes. And you think, oh my God, we don't have an idea what the next Doctor is at all. It's just do what you want with it, son.
Yeah, I don't trust them. Even if they flicked Ncuti, I don't trust RTD's got a vision that would replace him with something more successful. His comments at the panel on the weekend were, to me, the Emperor had no clothes by the end of that session. It was pretty evident that I'm either he's lost it or he never really had it to begin with, and he clearly bases things on a diet of shows like contemporary shows, and he kind of harvests them. And I'm just wondering if 2005 worked because he harvested good product at the time. We all thought that he had the zeitgeist and a vision of the future, but I don't know. Things have definitely shifted now.
Well, I've got two more here, and then I'll add an item and see what you all think of it. So Divine and Dragon, who remembers on the midday show tomorrow, we're going to do a midday debate tomorrow. Different. Please tune in if you can. RTD created the problems. However, Gatwa has not endeared himself to the audience, so he's complicit in the failure. I think this is where the water's been muddied. And John Yulden's on the same page here. Both Ncuti and RTD are a package deal for me. If either of them stays, I won't be watching the show as a fan, only for review purposes. They have put their own agenda and ideology above the show.
I was talking about this on the podcast I was just recording before coming on with my guests there, and a couple of us were against the whole series before it even started because of the things that RTD was saying, particularly on the Davros issue. So that had us on the wrong foot just to start with. So not good.
I remember seeing the Davros Gate Unleashed thing. I showed Dad. I was sitting on the couch and I was showing Dad what was it? The Children in Need thing, and we were sitting watching that, and I hadn't minded it, and then all of a sudden, the next thing that came across YouTube was the Unleashed clip where RTD basically explains why Davros needs to change, and I was just sitting there with my jaw on the floor, just going, "What the hell are you talking about?" And Dad saw that I was just devastated. Just that the whole thing was just like, what?
Well, let me show you this, lads, and see what you think. Just on this theme before we move on. So I call them the RTD rambling rhetoric. It's so easy to do now. He said, we've shot season 2, but we're only halfway through season 2, obviously with post-production, which we've got to do. So no decisions yet, and we are happy making it at the moment. We hope it continues forever. Now, you see, it's the English, because as you know, RTD has a style about him where when he's talking, he talks in 3s or 4s when one word would do. So if he says, I'm happy, I'm ecstatic, I'm this, he just says the same thing in different ways. Now here, he was asked about season 3 and he answered about season 2. So why the political answer? And as he was talking about season 2 and not the real question, he says, so no decisions yet. And we are happy making it at the moment. Now, the at the moment, as you know, when you talk, sometimes just to fill part of a sentence. Why do you say it? It's your subconscious. I just think
that's his answer on season 3. So no decisions yet. That's the season 3 point. Everything else is word salad to sort of fluff it up.
Yeah.
But no decisions yet. That's the whole point of that quote.
Yeah.
Why would you make decisions though during post? Because that's kind of what it's inferring. What's going to happen in post that's going to make you make a decision?
Well, one of the saloons I did, I must have had some evidence because I only use evidence in the saloons. There must have been an article where it said that they reckon that Disney would be making the decision for season 3 in the coming months of 2025 after the spin-off. So whether they just need more material to see how this series is landing, or but look at this again. You're asked a question: is there going to be a season 3? And he says we've been shooting an earlier season, and it's halfway through sorting that out. So no decisions yet, and we are happy making it at the moment. Do you know what, Dwayne? We are happy making it at the moment. That really stinks. I'm thinking, why did his brain throw that out? That just
yeah, it's I don't know, maybe it's a desperate line to throw out in front of the audience. You've got to come up with something. You're sitting there in front of an audience. Yeah. I've got to admit, I did not watch much of the Comic-Con videos at all, because I just find them very, I find RTD very frustrating to listen to.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch a lot of them. In fact, the couple of things I did watch had more to do with Ncuti, and then I've got some things some opinions I've formed on Ncuti because of the Comic-Con rather than RTD, because
Yeah.
this is just typical RTD. What he's saying, it just
It
doesn't
is.
really mean much.
It is. I actually got him with a photograph with his mouth shut. David Harding asks, why does RTD look like he's in a straitjacket? That's because I've put him in one. Because I actually did that deliberately. Yeah, it's called my version of satire. So yes, that is a real straitjacket, and that's a real soundproof room you can see in the background. Because I just think sometimes he really does sound as though, what are you on? It just doesn't sound like a serious showrunner. And I made the comment the other day that when you listen to JNT, when he used to go on to Saturday Superstar and he would be promoting Doctor Who, and people always dismiss him. You know, like we were saying about Jon Pertwee being underrated. John Nathan Turner, he was a showman as well. Remember, this showman is a curse of a word to apply to anyone. Yeah, he had Hawaiian shirts and he would sell the show, but he was always blooming professional about it. He never speculated beyond madness. His speculations were deliberate. So when he said the TARDIS might fix its chameleon circuit, he did that to get all of us riled and interested. That was deliberate. But RTD makes up stuff on the spot. Doesn't it I don't know if it's a real respect for me for the fans to do that. KC Skyfire, the Doctor may be the madman in a box, but RTD is the madman on the box. We all have our opinions. That's my satire on it. So RTD is like a typical UK politician, and look how popular they are at the moment. And problem being, nice to see you, Lee. I did reply to you the other day. He's clearly gotten where he is by a bunch of racist people telling him how wonderful he is. So is their racism. So their racism isn't so obvious. I know we're all very angry about how this is going. This is supposed to be a sci-fi adventure escapist show. Divine and Dragon, Disney will negotiate with the BBC for percentage of contributions. If they can receive it for next to nothing, they may continue. And so we all have different feelings about. Yes, Clud says at the moment does suggest to me that there is no certainty at all. Anthony Parkinson, RTD is comfort eating for two.
My question is, if this is such a success, like I put on Disney Plus the other day, and Doctor Who is nowhere to be found. It's kind of hidden. I don't know what you think of that, Dan, but you've got to really go looking for it to find it. It's not there. Like it's not hard to find on iPlayer, but when you go to Disney Plus, it's just not. Yeah. It's not bouncing out. You've got the Acolyte there, and you've got all those other things there, but Doctor Who nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought we were going to end up with a tile or something like a permanent fixture where you would just see the Hooniverse sort of all get uploaded to Disney like the iPlayer. But yeah,
it was like that on BritBox when BritBox
had a brilliant setup. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, but that's gone now too. So,
yeah.
So, just as we talked about, should it be rested? I have to say, Lee, that's a show I'm going to do soon. Whether it should be rested, cancelled, rebooted, every version possible, but not continue as it is. But you say the only way to save Doctor Who is to cancel it and wait for competent people in more sane times. Me and Divine and Dragon, who are on tomorrow, discussing this in a bit more detail. We think the more damage being done, it may have to be more than a decade. It may be, but just look up here. I found this on Twitter. Somebody was saying this, and I think the silence tells you a lot. Is there going to be a season 3 or not? And as this person says, we've passed a few points you'd expect would be prime moments for Disney to announce a renewal of their contract during the press tours, the post-launch, following the finale, after the season 2, season 15 wrapped, at the San Diego Comicon, and against every one of them, they haven't. Now, do you think this silence is speaking volumes?
I don't know. I couldn't say for sure because there's still another Comic-Con after the next series, isn't there? Before season 3, so they could still announce a whole heap of stuff for season 3 at the next Comic-Con, couldn't they? Yeah. If they really wanted to. Yeah, I really couldn't say. But the season is brought forward, isn't it? It's been brought forward a couple of months, hasn't it? Next year.
Yes, March. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? Look, who knows? It just seems very strange. They do announce things a long way in advance, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do sign up for a season 3 regardless. Because I mean, look at Disney in general. They're signing up for shows at the moment that are not successful, left, right, and center, that have the right politics, and they're quite happy to support actors and production teams that are mouthing off on social media on issues, as long as they swing in the right direction politically for their personal politics. So I don't feel like they've done anything that Disney wouldn't agree with necessarily.
I think the worrying thing here, and I'll bring it in Lee's points and see what you think, and then I'll bring in Michael's, and then we'll move on to the next topic. But Lee says the wilderness years was a double-edged, two-edged sword. On one hand, it created an environment for fans to create whole new Doctor Who content without interference. On the other hand, it gave us RTD. The trouble is the world has changed. Those 90s wilderness years were very creative for Doctor Who fans. We can see now. The trouble is the fans who have power are different now. Big Finish is a very different beast to it was in the 90s. I worried about the stories that are going to be told in the wilderness years too will be very different ones, and canon will be bust to shreds, and it'll all be very sexualized. And I just feel as though our lovely nostalgic sentimental view of the wilderness years isn't going to be repeated if we just willingly cancel and then hope for some great creation. I don't know. I feel bad about that one.
Look at what we had in the wilderness years. We only had the books. We had a few straight to video releases from people like Bill Baggs and others. Right until the end of the 90s. Big Finish didn't start until 1998 with Benny Summerfield. So most of that of the 90s was Big Finish free. There's a lot of nostalgia for those years too at the moment. People are going back and looking at those times. But there's just an explosion of media in every direction now, and things are able to be created so much more quickly and can get to the customer more easily now. So but with that comes a drop in quality. So there's not as much care is taken as would have been taken in the 90s when you had, say, one book, or was it one book a month? I think it was one book a month.
Yeah, it will be something like
through
that.
the 90s.
I mean, if this was the wilderness years now, would you be able to live with stuff like this that was announced at San Diego Comicon, the mobile game with lower decks? I mean, this is really scraping the barrel stuff to me, but I'm not a gamer. But
I've tried playing some of these games, not this one in particular, but I've played some other Doctor Who games, and they just don't do anything for me. I don't know what the appeal is for them. Maybe I'm just too old for that kind of thing, but maybe the kiddies would love that, but definitely not for me, that's for sure. And they're not interesting like games used to be for me. Like I could sit and play Tomb Raider for months at a time, but this is nothing like that.
What is it? What is it, Cybermat? Why is it they keep going back to David Tennant's Doctor? I thought Matt Smith's Doctor was successful in America. Why are we doing David Tennant again?
Yeah, the harking back to David Tennant, I agree. I don't know why they don't focus on the Matt Smith if it's about capturing the US audience and the international audience. I would have thought he was the most popular.
Yeah. So yes, I find it quite.
But it's a massive slap in the face to the current Doctor, though, to have that sort of stuff being produced right now. I just, I think this is where, I mean, you would JNT back in the day. There's no way he would have let stuff go out without the current Doctor on the face of it, would he?
No, and the BBC would never repeat an out of Doctor show. They were quite strict. So now we've got David Tennant. Yes, I mean, you're right to say that, Cybermat, because the British Broadcasting Company has been quite strict about this sort of thing, whereas now we seem to be just blundering around. Anyway, did you see this one? This really got me. I've never heard this before. I'm going to go full screen so you can read it. Did everybody see this? Now, it's the first two pieces here. It was in Doctor Who Absolute fans of the Doctor. According to the Facebook page Stephen Moffat fans and follow it, it's great. Captain Jack was intended for a far different path. When he mentioned the time agency stole his memories, this was a longer plan of Russell Davies and Eccleston learning what Jack's past was. When Eccleston quit, Davies didn't believe a regeneration scene with Jack would work because he needed Rose to be shocked, and Jack wouldn't be shocked. Consequently, Jack was written out, and later RTD realised the memory wipe plot never got addressed. At one point, Stephen Moffat had wanted to call Captain Jack Jax, but they thought it was too kind of like other characters. Moffat also revealed that had Chris Eccleston stayed in the show, the second series would have focused on Jack and the Doctor searching for his lost memories. When he chose to leave, Davies wrote out Jack as he wanted to explore Rose dealing with regeneration, which he felt wouldn't have bothered the captain. He and Moffat have since admitted that forgetting about those lost memories was an oversight. What do you reckon to that?
I think we were lucky we got what happened, because I think the end product was probably sounded like the better version in my view. It's hard to go back and look at these things, but I agree. I remember at the time wondering if Torchwood was going to pick up the threads around Captain Jack and the Time Agency, because we've never really had any of that sort of fleshed out, have we?
No. Do you know what?
We have in Big Finish. They've done a couple of series of the life. What's it called? The life and death of Captain Jack, or something like that. So it has been done. On Big Finish, but yeah, we never did get to see that on television. Which you're right. I was expecting some more connection between the Torchwood television series and what went on in Doctor Who, and some of the hints that were dropped there. We never really got that. It was much more of a week by week television show rather than looking into the mystery of Captain Jack.
And it's funny because in season 12 with the Chibnall era, with his links to Torchwood and with Captain Jack coming back and with the Division and the Fugitive Doctor, I thought we might get some stuff around the Time Agency and all this sort of stuff. And then it just descended into the 10-minute rewrite of the Doctor origin instead, which I was thoroughly disappointed in, because I was hooked all season on the Division and what we were going to find out about, potentially a time agency or something.
Well,
and
there was hints dropped in that, wasn't there? Like there was hints just in the acting that there was more to be told. And that Jack knew what was going on.
Yeah. Can I just say, PB props? I mean, I appreciate this, and I'll explain why I will mention this. Personally, I don't care about any of that stuff. It's done. It's in the past. It is. I mean, I was wondering editorially about whether to bring this up, because it's like fans talking about something that didn't happen. But because RTD is back, and if you think of the season we've just had, when it's more space opera, if I'm being polite, than it is sci-fi. We've had a season where the Doctor really is led by, we need to help Ruby Sunday with her genealogy, right? And when you think that all this Captain Jack possibility was a whole season of Doctor Who having just relaunched, chasing his lost memories of his companion, doesn't that sound, PB props, along the same lines of a Ruby Sunday arc, which is we're chasing not the missing memories, but we're chasing the missing ma'am. To be honest, has RTD changed? This is tired soap opera stuff. That's why I brought it up, PB props. And problem being says, are we surprised? These guys can't even keep their own canon straight. They've forgotten this, have they? But do you see, lads, why I brought this up? Because I think we've just seen a version of this.
Yeah, look,
there's been plenty of examples throughout this season of ideas, and the specials too, of ideas that have been either reused or nicked from somewhere else, that lack originality. So that doesn't surprise me at all that they've picked yet something else has found itself into the story of this current season.
Yeah, and PB Props is just saying, yeah, well, okay, Brendan, he's just recycling all his old ideas. I know, and I think this is he shouldn't have come back because we're spotting it ever so clearly now.
See, I agree with PB Props though. Like this stuff here, you know, speculating on what didn't happen is kind of tiresome. It's to me, it's a bit like the Cartmel Master Plan. I love what the Cartmel Master Plan that hit the screen, but the stuff that I've heard about what the Cartmel Master Plan was for season 27, and that doesn't interest me at all. And I was glad it actually didn't come out.
Well, we've got Mad McCam. He's got season 2 set up there. Look at that. Series 2, Captain Jack dating Rogue and Gatwa crying about his 2 lost loves. That would be such a tragic series.
What would Russell Tovey say about that?
Well, yes, this is it. There'd be chaos. I mean, we could have had a trio. Now, the third one here, I don't know if you saw this before, is actually from Stephen Moffat's account. And Russell Davies says that he deliberately made the 15th Doctor more emotional. I wanted people, particularly our younger audience, to know that they can express their emotions in an open, healthy way. Davies is aware of the criticism regarding the Doctor getting tearful, but that's who he is now. He's a lot more in touch with his emotions. Quite right.
No, he's not.
And let me just show you this, because this is what Ncuti said in Time magazine just 2 months ago. He said, the Doctor now, he's emotionally available and unavailable. He's not afraid to cry. He feels a lot. He's cheeky. He's flirty, and he's unafraid to use his charm to get what he wants. Now, the big argument about should he stay, should he go? Is this the Doctor? Do they know what some of it we joke about, like we've just said about Rogue and stuff like that. But this makes no sense to me. I mean, I don't think he's got a handle yet on what he wants his Doctor to be. I think if I was being fair, because he's emotionally available and unavailable. Well, the classic Doctor tended to be quite contained, emotional, but contained and got on with it, caring in action. He's not afraid to cry. He's cheeky, he's flirty. Now, there is an element where people are starting to say, is this just your personality? You're a likable chap, and this is how you've come across in your audition, and now it's been written like that. The flirty bit, feeling a lot, that sounds like what happened in Rogue, which had nothing to do with Doctor Who at all. Thoughts, lads?
I just about the crying thing is not afraid to cry. Well, this is not showing how an emotionally stable person cries. Yes, it is okay to cry, but not like this. If this, as I've said previously, he behaves in a way that's more like a tantrum than emotionally stable behavior. So they can say it as much as they like. They can keep saying it till the cows come home that they want to make the Doctor more emotional, but they're making him more childish and making him throw more tantrums.
Yeah.
And crying all over the place doesn't mean he's accessible or more accessible. And at the end of the day, he's meant to be a bloody alien, and that's thousands of years old. I mean, if you can't build some resilience after being thousands of years old, when are you going to get some resilience? It's just...
Now, Triple Jazz he's joined us from Tassie, more than 3 decades on, and we have RTD doing the same thing. There must be something about Doctor Who producers that are usually addressed with only 3 letters, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, I thought you were going to say there, Triple Jazz, is you've got the Moffat, you've got the crew, the Chibnall. I mean, it's just, they won't allow anybody else in. Garbage, not afraid to cry. Sorry, 8 episodes of crying is not the strongest character we know. Remember, I think we were talking about it on the Detox last week. 7 out of the 8 episodes he cries in. And at San Diego, the Ncuti on the panel, did you see my quote on Sunday, which I pulled up? And he said that tears were not the plan, but when he saw the direction, when he saw the writing, and his own interpretation meant that tears were the end result. So it's organic. You're stunned.
I have to say I disagree with the previous comment that said that RTD and JNT were one and the same. Absolutely.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Absolutely not.
I really wanted to have a go at that one too.
JNT Yes, he wanted to put his panto into Doctor Who, and he came pretty close in season 23 and 24. But most of the time, he was pretty restrained. He was, he was restrained by his script editors, and when Andrew Cartmel took over, he let him take more of the reins after season 24, and it became something much better. So yes, he was his own. He put his own stamp on it, his own personality, but he was far, far more restrained than RTD has ever been.
But his motivations also, Dwayne, were clearly you can criticize whether what he was right or wrong in terms of what he was doing all across his decade. But at the end of the day, you can't question the fact that whatever he was doing at the time, he was always working with the view that it was about making the show as good as possible, as good as he could possibly make it, and to get the biggest audience that he could get. And that's all he was focused on. He wasn't focused on jamming messaging or, creating something artistic or whatever. It was just about getting a good show on the screen that reflected the whole, reflected what the show was about. So
now you see, it makes me reflect now on Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, because as Lee says here, you do not write the Doctor as a snotty, tearful, emotionally immature human being. And when the big criticism of the Jodie Doctor was the moment when Graham said about the cancer and the Doctor didn't know what to say, which actually is a more akin to being that alien and some of the coldness that Sarah saw in Pyramids of Mars, for example. And, that's one of the attacks on the Jodie Doctor, which I've made myself. But it makes me reflect that this Doctor is just bleeding out of every orifice emotion, to the point where in action, in Empire of Death, he was paralyzed. He was indecisive. He was incapable of making a decision. And he only got away with what happened in Empire of Death because we made up all that twaddle about a memory TARDIS if Ruby concentrates. That's not getting out of it. You watch Brain of Morbius and he's making cyanide gas in the basement to kill Morbius. The Doctor solves the issue, although, that sort of thing, rather than if we dream up enough, I'm sure when you were blinded by the Sisters of Khan, we can make a special memory thing. It's all hocus pocus, all these easy get-outs. So actually, I almost feel a bit embarrassed that actually Jodie's Doctor was actually more alien than this Doctor.
Yeah.
You definitely stunned me into silence with that one, because I'm inclined to agree.
I've got to be honest, and I have not enjoyed the Chibnall Jodie years. I've tried and I have watched them. I never walk away. But now in retrospect, I have to think, I'm sorry, that's how it feels to me. And that's the truth to me, Davison once said, says SG, he accepted the role was because he'd be wondering forever how his Doctor would have been portrayed. Yeah, took the role, did what you did with it. I know most actors come to the role and they don't know what to do. And I don't think they are given much direction. I think the truth is throughout that's happened. Jon Pertwee talks about it. He was wondering about the costume. He was wondering, I think everybody, am I right in thinking they did pick Jon Pertwee, and I think they thought they were going to get the Jon Pertwee from the Navy Lark, the Jon Pertwee from the 60s. But what they got was this really serious, strict, that he saw his moment to extend his repertoire, actually.
I thought we did
get a touch of that. We did get a touch of the Navy Lark in Spearhead from Space, didn't we? If you look at certain bits and the way he was acting and burning and things like that. But very, very quickly, Barry Letts came in and said, yeah, let's do it as you. And as Jon Pertwee always said, well, who am I? And it was like a voyage of discovery almost for him, wasn't it?
Yeah. Jamie Knight reckons, hello, Jamie, 13 should have had a follow-up conversation with Graham about his illness, her awkwardness, then it would have been fine. But when you do the comparison, Jamie, this Doctor would have just been I think I'm being fair. The Ncuti Doctor would have cried when Graham says his personal news, but then not helped Graham at all. The Jodie Doctor didn't help Graham. I think she said something about she doesn't know what to say. I think there was something like that, which is better than just crying in front of somebody who's in pain, I have to say.
I think the way that Chibnall was trying to write that was to try and write it with a sense of comedy, but it was the wrong call. He should have leaned into it as a straight message, really. I think, because as if the Doctor wouldn't know what to say in that circumstance. It's so dumb, really.
Now, Cybermat, you kind of scared me to death when you said just before we started this. No, you didn't. Sense for you, I like to have no echo chamber, and I never know what the panelists are going to say, and that's the beauty of it. But I mentioned the Christmas trailer, Joy to the World, it's called, isn't it? And you said, I mean, people have seen my Sunday stream, I think, and I said there were things that worried me, but you said,
oh, I am up for this. This hooked me back in. I think I was saying to Brendan, I was thinking, geez, I'm pretty shallow. It doesn't take much for me to get on board with something.
So please tell me, this is why I want the Sense for you to work like this. Right. I don't understand why you were excited by the trailer. So please, I've only got 3 clips from this just to keep it tight, but we discussed the Silurian being very humanized, and that's happened for a while now. And to me, it's the Paternoster gone mad again. You've got a Black Doctor, and I have to reference his race, actually, because I think this is dangerous. You've got writers making a Black Doctor look like a gimmick, cheap, a waiter. Even in jest, which obviously this is, I think you need to be careful. Just like with the Jodie Doctor, your first ever female Doctor, I think you need to be careful how you deliver that character, and they missold the first ever female Doctor. I just think this is Stephen Moffat wanting to do a nice cheeky chappy episode. So that's what I said on my Sunday stream. So please tell us, Cybermat, what excited you about this?
Look, to be honest, I thought Nicola was lovely. I thought there was a lot of heart in the trailer. It struck me that it was clearly a Stephen Moffat episode, and I got a lot of Stephen Moffat vibes. And I guess my trust isn't broken that Moffat can write an intelligent story. So, like, my hope that these mysteries will kind of pay off. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the Paternoster gang necessarily, or the I don't like how they.
Oh, the Strax as a way to
look. I like it as a one-time gag, but yeah, they leaned into it too much in my view.
The thing is, Dwayne, I'd love to know where you stand on this as an example, but I just feel as though I'm just getting a diet of Doctor Who does jokes, Doctor Who takes itself lightly, Doctor Who, never mind Doctor Light episodes, we have Doctor Light, LIGHT. It's just always light entertainment, Doctor Who. Can I have, please, something that's not that? I know Christmas episodes always go a bit lighter still, but we haven't had any dark. And so it worried me for the reasons I've said earlier.
Well, I was going to say that it's a Christmas episode, so you're going to expect some of that lightness that you're not going to get elsewhere. It doesn't help that we haven't had too much dark elsewhere either. I do disagree with you, Brendan, on making a black man a servant, waiter type thing. I don't think that well, it's not an issue for me.
Yeah,
we did have Eccleston, in the very first episode, Rose. He was acting like a waiter as well, doing something similar. When he was offering the bottle of wine. Over the desk, so over the table. So it has been done before, and that's the kind of way I see it.
Yeah.
As far as the lightness goes, yes, it's a Christmas episode. I've never ever been able to come to terms with the redesign of the Silurians right from when they came back in the new series in that Chibnall episode. I just cannot understand why they went that way. I'm actually at the moment having a re-listen of the audio book version of Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters by Malcolm Hulke. and it goes into great detail about how different they are to humans, and they're making them very human looking in here. Just does not make sense and doesn't fit in with the original vision of Malcolm Hulke. So, but I mean, obviously there's no real concern about that, but as a fan, it concerns me. So I've never been able to handle that. So I'll watch this Christmas episode and just take it as it is, as a Christmas episode. As far as Christmas episodes go, I didn't mind the last one either. I thought, yeah, it was a bit of fun, a bit silly. I could handle that for what it was, but it just kept continuing in that vein. That was the problem.
Yeah. I think
so
God, sorry.
Yeah, so I think I'll be able to cope with this one when it comes out. Apart from that Silurian, I can't stand it.
No, you see that it's just when I add everything together, we had the giggle and spice up your life. All of these in separate moments, like you said, Dwayne, I can maybe live with in a season that just has a cohesion to it. But you have spice up your life, the brand new Doctor in his undies, then you have the Goblin King and the Goblin Dance, and all the things that you've just said, which maybe for a Christmas episode you can cope with. And then straight after that, we have Space Babies and talks about poo and methane and nappies and a snot monster. Then you have Devil's Cord and you break the fourth wall and you just go, oh my God, this is a whole season. Then you have Sutek, who apparently has just been sitting on a TARDIS. I just think the whole season, and then add this to it. In the end, I feel as though we're not saying that's a Christmas episode. They're always like that. That's just a one-off episode there. What we're saying is New Who is light, comedic, doesn't take itself seriously. As Rtd said in San Diego, I'm going to break the fourth wall for as many times as possible. Now, if you break the fourth wall, you're taken out of the story. I'm sorry, Frankie Howard did it best. It's been copied by other comedians, but it was done in comedy. I'm not buying into this at all. The Silurians...
Did he?
Sorry?
He said that about the fourth wall, did he?
Yes.
Whenever that's said, I think of, like, do you remember the show Miranda?
Yes.
That's pure comedy. She would always look at the screen whenever she was, it was always done as a joke. So you're absolutely right. I think fourth wall breaking, comedy. That's all I think.
Yeah. And as for the Divine and Dragon, I've kept his quote up there because on the midday show tomorrow, we were talking the other day, and we'll bring it up, everybody. When you have, and look, I'll join 2 points together, Dwayne, because you know the point about, I mentioned the Black Doctor and being a waiter, but you said it's been done before, so you see no issue. And I get that point. I normally don't get any kind of issues with these things, but I'm being told, I'm being educated by the production team to be very savvy on race issues, LGBT issues, trans issues. I'm being educated. So now I'm very educated, you see, Dwayne, and I'm very sensitive. I'm a very sensitive Doctor Who fan. I've become sensitized by the production team. Cultural appropriation is dangerous and evil. I'm really with them. They've indoctrinated me. So when I see a black character doing what, yes, another Doctor's done before, I think, gosh, that's insensitive. Gosh, that's undermining. God, that's patronizing. And when it comes to this Silurian, and they have been humanized through the Stephen Moffat era, I agree, never liked it. But as you said with the cave monsters, you go to the original, basically they were naked, weren't they? I mean, they were ancient. They had that dangerous light on their head, that kinesthetic-y type power. It's been taken away. They look like a Star Trek alien to me now. And I sound as though I'm dissing Star Trek, but you know what I mean. And actually, when you are supposed to be very bothered about cultural appropriation with Sutek and everything, isn't it? And Ncuti said in RT, if he went back in time, he'd like to stop colonization. This is colonization of the Silurians by humans. They have to dress like humans now. I'm only saying all this nonsense because I have been told incessantly to be sensitive. So shall we be sensitive back to all their writing decisions?
With the Silurian, look, I agree that the humanizing of the Silurians, they've definitely lost a quality over the classic Silurians. But I was watching the classic Silurians the other day, the Warriors of the Deep, and with the lights in the head. And the reason, let's face it, the reason they put the lights in the head was because you couldn't tell who was talking behind the rubber mask.
Yeah.
So that's why they did it. And I was thinking, well, clearly the design of trying to give them a mask that you could act through makes design sense. For me, what breaks the spell here is they don't have the lizard eyes that you need, the reptilian eyes that you need. Maybe if they put like lenses in with lizard, which I've seen them do that, it would have made a big difference, I think, to how they're perceived, I guess. Or I don't know, maybe are you thinking, Dwayne, that the issues that they're literally living amongst us like humans is part of the issue?
Well, my thought was with the first new series Cyberman was that there were different types of did I say Cybermen? Silurians. That there were different sort of cousins, because we've already seen the Silurians, we've seen the Sea Devils. Now these ones that we're seeing are different ones again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. But they don't ever mention that. So they need to mention it a bit more if that's what they're going to do. And maybe from time to time bring those original ones back in. That would be good if that's what they're leaning into, but I don't think they are. They're just making it easy.
Yeah.
And if they're going to change the design of the Silurians, why keep the original design of the Sea Devils? Because their design's been kept, which I thought was done quite well, even though it was the most abysmal story I've ever seen. The design was great, I thought. And so if they can do it with the Sea Devils, they could definitely do it with the Silurians.
Yeah. Well, problem being, this is what I mean. I feel as though I'm on the same page with problem being. It's only cultural appropriation when it's people they don't like. But when Jodie wore Chinese dress, that was fine. All good parts of culture should be appropriated. There shouldn't be this silly rule, right? It just stop it. And he's just done in Rogue a cosplay story. Now, it's surely cosplay is cultural appropriation because you'll dress up like somebody else. These people who lecture don't realize that they're being extremely inconsistent. It's best to back off. Now, the other thing I want to ask you lads is, you could have had any alien back in the Christmas special, but do you reckon, well, that's speculation, but obviously the spin-off was announced and we know the spin-off is Sea Devils, both Malcolm Hulke creations. So we've got a 5-part series confirmed at last. Not with Martha in, that was a big shock, but Martha's younger sister, not her character, but the same actress, and Russell Tovey, and Unit, of course. So we've got the Sea Devils in a 5-part series, and we've got the Silurians back in the Christmas special. Is this part of a cohesive plan, I wonder?
Yeah, quite potentially it's tied in, because the Silurians and Sea Devils are so closely related. But as soon as I saw this cast, I was reminded by Gemma Redgrave and the other fella there of the little romance that we got at the end, and I just found that so annoying. Like they're putting that romance, that toy boy romance, in there when it's totally not necessary. It's not what Unit was. So that irritates me, but I am curious to see what they do. And I'm also glad that it's only 5 episodes long, so I don't have to invest too much time in it.
Do you know, isn't it funny, Dwayne? I heard Cybermat saying he's looking forward to the Christmas trailer, the Christmas episode, sorry. I'm less so because of what I've seen in it that kind of worries me. And yet for some reason, I don't know if it's because I'm mad on Sea Devils, but I'm really looking forward to this. But I also have parked your point about the Unit having kissy time. But I feel as though I'm more excited about this 5-part series than I am the Doctor Who season 2.
I actually was, after listening to Russell pitch this at the Comic-Con, I was less excited because it felt like he and Pete McTeague might pick up where they left off, or where Pete left off with the Sea Devils trailer and or Apraxius, and I think Rtd was talking about the fact that they wake up and everything's polluted, and I'm thinking, if this is 5 episodes of plastic's bad and we've destroyed the world, and messaging, Yeah, but if it's a character-led drama and it's more like Children of Earth, then it could be really great. What concerns me is when you've got that 30-second pitch from RTD, that's what you choose to lean into. I'm thinking, I wasn't excited by it.
I'm wondering, because I can see Triple Jazz Musical says same, couldn't care less about this spin-off either. I don't normally like spin-offs. Sarah Jane Adventures, I could take or leave. It was tea time for the kids. Torchwood, I did watch, but it's not my show. Doctor Who's my show. You know what I mean? Doctor Who is my main event.
Question is though, Brendan, why isn't it in the main show? Why is this a spin-off? Why don't we have Silurians in Doctor Who as part of the show? Why don't we have 24 episodes or 16 episodes or something?
I'm just wondering to me, if you think about it, if you think very quickly, the whole Doctor Who series was about Ruby Sunday finding her mum. That what doesn't appeal to me. I'm a sci-fi fan, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get a 5-part synopsis saying, the aliens come out the water. They're not happy about how we've treated the waters of the planet. And there's a hell of a war between UNIT and them. That sounds like Doctor Who to me. I know there may be lots of problems there. There's no Doctor in it. And I'm well aware that is something I will hate. But we haven't had the Doctor in season 1. So maybe I'm looking forward to the Doctor Who spin-off for the first time in my life, because I don't normally. Class, Torchwood, Sarah Jane, I watched them, but the main game to me was Doctor Who. But because I feel as though I haven't seen Doctor Who for 7, 8, 9 episodes, I'm looking forward to this.
This was touted as being what happens when the Doctor's not around.
Yeah.
So that raises the question, where's the 14th Doctor? Why isn't he jumping in on this?
It's a big garden, Dwayne. You've forgotten he's got gardening stuff to do.
Beg your pardon.
The other thing is, if this is what they do when the Doctor's not around, then the question is, at the end of it, if they solve it themselves, what do you need the Doctor for then?
Well, I don't know why you need the Doctor. If you look at the plot of Empire of Death and Legend of Ruby Sunday, did you need the Doctor really? It was the memory TARDIS that got them away from death, basically, which was Ruby Sunday's invention, because she had to concentrate on her mum. And it was Mel who got them away in the scooter. The Doctor isn't saving things.
Well, the other thing is, if the Doctor hadn't fired up the time window and all that crap, would anything have happened? Would Sutek have just been sitting on the TARDIS for another 50 years?
And as Peter Harrington,
I love that comment. They should have a civil war between Hulk's creation and the new batch.
Yeah,
that would be a brilliant way of doing an analogy on the political divide in the world at the moment. It would be fantastic.
Actually,
way to do it, and you could do it subtly.
And actually, Dwayne, the more you think about it, it would kick off everything that's out there. So, for example, you'd have the humanized Silurians and Sea Devils all discussing cultural politics and everything, and we have to be kind and peace, man. And then you'd have the ancient ones who go, you haven't got a clue. We are losing what we are. And there'd be discussions about immigration, multicultural. Actually, Peter Harrington, I don't know if you were in jest or serious, but I'm with Dwayne on this. I think that would absolutely open up everything about what's going on in our world. And if you did it, the only trouble is, Dwayne and Dan, you know what would happen. You would get lectured from one side, rather than it being a brilliant debate where actually, as Malcolm Hulke used to do, you'd think about the ancients are right to a degree and the new ones are right to a degree, and you leave it open.
All those 70s shows, comedies, the BBC comedies, and they literally put all the perspectives in the shows so that there's always someone that you could align with, regardless of your politics. And I also think they should then bring in the Zygons and the Scarison and have the Merker face off against the Scarison.
That Merker's going to need a better agent and just say, I've been dissed for years. He'll have a PR company behind him. Sorry, I said he. It might be a she. I never looked. But you know, I mean, I knew it was males in it. It was the Rent-A-Ghost males from the pantomime horse, wasn't it? Poor lads, drunkenly kind of trying to go on that kind of plastic. Problem being, RTD said in an interview that 14 Dwayne went to Venice and drowned in a whirlpool. Very sad. And I think I did see that actually. This is how flippant he is now. He couldn't care less because all of us fans are saying he's around and he's got a TARDIS. I thought the 15th Doctor, when you know the Empire of Death and the whole world Armageddon, he should have said
got the real TARDIS.
Yeah, he should have said to Mel, quickly go to the Noble's back garden and we'll get in the other TARDIS now. But yeah, he's opened up issues that I thought were opened up because he'd planned it out, how silly I was. But yeah, we're going to have UNIT, a military organization. As some people have said in a thread, it's a kindergarten now. But as Dwayne has said, you've also got this hint that there's going to be romance at work. And you just think, oh, no, make them efficient. Make them very military so you can get the Malcolm Hulke bits in about the military being a bit too military and all the rest of it. But no, don't.
It would be cool if they got, if they get some military units going. They get unit soldiers in landies going all over the countryside, with bazookas. I think we need some Greyhound to trap one. That would be really cool.
Oh,
I've got to admit, as a fan of the audios, I have really enjoyed the new series Unit Adventures on Big Finish. Really enjoyed them, but I've never really found Gemma Redgrave to be very appealing on her own. It's usually whoever she's paired with, like Osgood's in all the Big Finish audios. So that pairing is what makes that team good. So I'm not excited about this particular lineup of Unit at all because I haven't really seen them in action. Osgood was fantastic. She's what made that original Unit series, and we've lost her now. So on TV, which is a shame because Gemma just doesn't do it for me. I'm afraid.
Yeah, and she's been there quite a while now, hasn't she? And they've made her into the Brigadier's daughter, so they're not going to budge her, are they? They're not going to move her at all. She's like a fixture now. What do you reckon to this then? We had I'm not going over all of San Diego because I did a stream on that, and there's many streams out there. But it's to pick over the crumbs of Comic-Con. So you can see there on Instagram, Russell Davey saying goodbye to San Diego, and he's there with Julie Gardner, and then you've got. Acting from Millie and Ncuti there, looking as though they're perplexed. But to me, the main event, apart from all the quotes, and I'm going to do a saloon on it, don't you worry, I've picked out so many quotes, it's ridiculous. But this obsession with this friendship is a universal thing. Why did they do? Is this marketing? I saw the panel. I really don't know what this Star Trek mashup with Doctor Who is, apart from that silly Lower Decks thing. But, somebody helpfully put here some quotes from Doctor Who in the past. Give me some Spock for once. Would it kill you? Now, is that just a lovely dialogue line? Because Star Trek, someone's been using a beam me up Star Trek teleport, said in the Matt Smith era, and we've got to visit them one day, said in Space Babies. Is something going on here where did you see RTD talking about we must have a crossover? He kept saying we must have a crossover. He sees no reason why there shouldn't be a crossover. He mentioned points about when every 8-year-old sits there and they don't see divides between Star Wars and Doctor Who and Star Trek. He said an 8-year-old would be sat there with a Dalek and a Sith. And I thought, no. Kids tend to separate the universes out. My TARDIS, when I was a kid, the one I've got over there, that not Fisher Price, the one, the 70s one. When I played with that and I had my AT-AT and I had all my Star Wars figures, they never blended. I never mixed and matched. I think, again, RTD is saying something that no 8-year-old does actually think. They actually understand the Doctor Who universe and they play with that. They have the Star Wars universe and they play with that. Am I wrong? I never mixed and matched.
You don't mix up your Voltron with your Transformers.
I just noticed that the tagline there, friendship is universal. Well, that was Universal's the company that owns Star Trek, isn't it? So is that right?
Yep.
Universal?
Yeah, it was used as their pitch, yeah.
But Universal, isn't it Paramount? or is
But
that the
that's like
paramount
that's a sub bit company
of
of
Universal?
Universal, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Not sure.
There you go. As you walked into San Diego Comicon, friendship is universal, and they had both franchises there, and they went for this friendship across the franchises. Then I assume to sell this lower decks idea, but I smell a ratty. I smell something else is going on, and the way RTD has obsessively gone on about you should do crossovers. I see no reason why not. He knows there's licensing issues and he knows it's complicated. Thanks, Claude. You said no, it's Paramount, definitely. I still wonder whether the love fest between Alex Kurtzman and RTD in the panel when it was the cross one, gosh, they really big each other up. And you do wonder whether they are determined to do something bigger than just the cartoon. And as I said the other day, is the cartoon the Trojan horse? Or the stalking horse? Is it a tryout to see if anybody kicks off?
Could very well be. Could be.
Yeah,
Who
I
knows?
don't
They
think
seem to be trying. They seem to be doing things in desperation. Like nothing that's happening there at Comic Con appeals to me at all. So
No.
I'm not really excited by any of it. You showed that image of Ncuti and Millie. I think that's one of the interviews that I saw was one of them. And was RTD there? I think RTD was there with them in the interview that I saw. And what interested me was that Ncuti was unable to give any kind of answer that was anything more than just fluff. Like there was nothing substantial in what he was saying. I don't know if you noticed that yourself, but I found that he couldn't answer any just basic questions about things, and he was seemed to be really struggling to find those answers.
Well, we started to think. I mean, if you really look at the body language of some of the, I saw the MTV panel when they were at San Diego. I saw another one with Variety. I saw another one. It was a American organization. I saw all the panels, and the body language is fascinating at different points. Those two actors look scared to death. Now, when I say scared, I use hyperbole, I know, but they look scared to death about putting a footer on and actually making a mistake. Now, we all know with these big franchises, no spoilers, please, but they look as though they're hanging on every word RTD says. In one of the interviews he was given, where the three of them were stood next to each other and RTD was doing most of the talking, I noticed that Ncuti was listening to every word as if it was a new insight. And all he was doing was talking about the Doctor Who franchise and what Doctor Who does for people. And Ncuti was smiling and looking right at his mouth. And you thought, it's almost as if he's never heard this before or thought about it. Whereas once every actor has got into the role, they tend to tell you their version. You know, Patrick Troughton will say, Hartnell, and remember, it was a different beast then, but they'd all tell you what it's all about. Whereas I felt as though, and I know what you mean, Dwayne, all I got was, oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful being in a room with beautiful people, and talking about Doctor Who is just beautiful, and everybody's incredible, and they're obsessed.
It's just fluff. Nothing.
Yeah. They're obsessed with cosplay. They kept saying, oh, it's amazing. When we go online, we see all the cosplay. And you're thinking, what is this? The cosplay. I'm not obsessed with cosplay. I really don't know why that's a term. Anyway, anything from all the streams, no doubt you've seen in San Diego that bothered you or interested you, Cybermat?
I thought I actually slightly disagree in that I thought Millie herself seemed quite confident to say what she was thinking. If she had an opinion, I think she gave it to some degree. I think she's going to go on to big things anyway. But I agree, like Ncuti really looked like he was hanging off everything RTD was saying and trying to formulate his responses to be palatable. It looked really awkward, actually. But I thought their panels humanized them in a sense. But to me, I thought that what I was seeing was that what floats RTD's boat, and clearly he's a Star Trek Discovery fanboy.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's got his own platform and an excuse to sit on a stage to have an opportunity to talk to Alex Kurtzman. So Yeah,
I know.
I just can't see his writing is not going to improve, and if his writing is based on watching other contemporary shows that are pretty awful, and then trying to use that as the basis of formulating the future of Doctor Who, I think we're in for real strife.
And Peter Harrington's just picked on one point that I was aware of, and I'm sure you two picked up on it. When Millie Gibson was in one of the panels, she said that in season 2, episode 4, because I give information on Sunday about this, that the boyfriend she's got, Jonah Howard King, he's going to be like infiltrating units to destroy units. It's all about wrecking its name. And there's somebody in a monster costume and all the rest of it. Anyway, season 2, episode 4 is a Dr. Light episode again. And as Peter Harrington points out here, there was a moment when she said, yes, I was on my own and RTD panicked. Don't you mean season 1, their faces? But yes, season 2, episode 4, 8 episode season, there's another Dr. Light episode again. What is going on here?
I don't know. As far as Millie is concerned, she seems the most comfortable, like Dan was saying. Yeah. She's the most comfortable of all 3 of them on there, probably because she knows she's done her thing, and she's only she's not obligated to do anymore because she's not going to be in anymore. After the couple of however many episodes she's in, I don't know how many that's going to be.
Yeah,
but certainly less than she was going to be originally.
And I'm not going to.
She's just doing what she has to do, and then she's moving on.
Yeah, I got the impression that Millie Gibson, if you're comparing the 3, I mean, RTD just has that gritted teeth smile that he does. Ncuti, as I said, was doing what he did. Millie clearly has left the series because, as you say, she looks as though she's moving on. She was stronger. She pulled them up about adjectives to use for season 2, I noticed, and she's just taking the mick out of them. Yes, Lee, I know what you're saying here. The colonialism point by Ncuti, because you know what Doctor Who fans are like. You're in a big room and they're asked a question like, if you could go back in time, what would you change? And the tedious questions, you never get anything massive. Like you say, Dwayne, froth. Ncuti decided to say he'd stop colonization to get a nice whoop out of a Californian audience. Obviously, being a British audience here, I thought, right, okay, so you fled Rwanda, your family, from genocide. I mean, it wasn't even a war, it was genocide. And however you were treated here, because obviously I don't know him personally, he seems to have done very nicely. And I mean, if our country is crippled with racism, how the hell has he managed to do so well? You know, there's some lie going on here. So anyway, his country that his mum and dad took him away from was crippled by genocide. And we all know how bad that was in Rwanda. So when he's asked a lovely, easy question, he doesn't say, I want to go back to change the genocide in Rwanda, because that's surely where his family and forefathers are from. If I had skin in the game, I would have thought that would be my go-to answer, because you'd want that sorted for all your family and friends who were left. And it's an easy hit on Britain. So I didn't take that very well. So I know what you're saying, Lee. I really know what you're saying. I can't stand this lecturing. And colonialism is a complex issue. Let's park it there.
Problem being, like I agree that it was a cheap shot, and RTD was making cheap shots, you know, around Kamala Harris and other things through recession as well. They were playing up to the audience, but you know, whenever someone goes on about colonialism in that sense, it just makes me think, you know, this is where Doctor Who could actually help educate people. But you know, it reminds me of the old Monty Python sketch from Life of Brian. What did the Romans ever do for us? And it's like, well, apart from the roads, the sewers, and the politics and the parliament and everything, but other than that, they haven't done anything for us.
But at least that line was in Monty Python. You know, as I just said, knowing it's a complex issue and this is a Doctor Who stream, colonialism is a complex issue. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm also, just like all of us, educated enough to say something like that. However, you've got Ncuti, who's got a powerful voice now, saying something that makes everything sound simple nursery rhyme, and yet the country he's basically having a kick at is the one that welcomed him in, and I find this very problematic. You've got a Californian audience, and you've gone for an easy thing there, and I'm not normally angered by stuff like this, but I just find the utterances are clumsy, simplistic, babyish, immature, sometimes baiting, sometimes provocative, but never about Doctor Who. Because as Dwayne said, all the stuff about Doctor Who was beautiful, incredible, love this, yeah, but froth. Learnt nothing. So anyway,
I think what the thing about the Rwandan genocide for you and I, guys, is the fact that we were there at the time watching it unfold. Ncuti wasn't. He was just a young toddler at the time, so our memory of it would be much stronger than his. So to us, it would seem much more serious. Because we were watching it on the news as it unfolded. It was one of the worst genocides ever, apart from the big one. And so of course you would think that's what he'd refer to, but he wasn't sort of consciously there. He's consciously only aware of what's fed to him.
Yeah,
and it's also, it goes to the heart of the education around world history, because it's easy to kick the UK for being a successful colonizer, and the fact that it still exists today is another thing that makes it a target, whereas a lot of other empires, so to speak, have fallen away. But at the end of the day, colonization was effectively an international race of the time that was, whether it was the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, that's what was happening as the world opened up. And, it's like today with social media, the world shrinks each time these sorts of innovations occur. And the whole world is impacted. And it's like trying to say that you can avoid it. At the end of the day, if we weren't colonized by the UK, we would have been colonized by someone else.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean.
French.
But you're both in Australia, and I know Australia. I mean, you could say that started as a colony. There's issues there being dealt with every day politically, as you well know. It's complicated, is all I'll say. It's it wasn't a brilliant thing, and it wasn't a bad thing.
I've just spent months and months in the outback, in amongst a lot of these issues and I've seen them face to face, and they're a lot different. A lot of these issues than people, back down south. The politicians will say what the issues are. They're not really exactly how they are when you're face to face with them. So there's much, as you say, everything's more complex than just a soundbite coming from a stage.
Yeah. What I'm shocked on the Rwandan front regarding genocide is you see an awful lot of Jewish families after the Second World War. They carry the story on within the family. My grandma was, in a concentration camp, and they are determinedly and quite rightly keeping that story going, even if the rest of the world wasn't with Holocaust Day and all the rest of it. Yet I'm shocked. And I'm not in a way. I'm thinking, Ncuti, I'm sure your family do talk about it, even if, as you say, Dwayne, it won't be in his living memory. But you've still made a decision not to say that. So, unfortunately, a fan in San Diego asks a flippant, simplistic question, gets an answer that gets a cheer, and there's me sitting there going, subconsciously, there's some interesting decisions that have been made in that answer that I don't actually like and I'm uncomfortable with. And again, this is where, isn't this the problem, Dwayne and Dan, where this is Doctor Who, and I want to talk about Doctor Who, but there's so much other stuff being said that we are taken out of it. This is like breaking the fourth wall, so to speak. All the heavy politics and jibes.
Yeah, again, it just comes. They're not able to write, in a way that they Mac Hulke and those guys. I was watching what was it? Or even just some of these 70s ones that I've been watching lately. They will literally have all point of views covered.
Prime example.
What's that? Sorry.
The Mutants is a prime example of
colonization. Yeah.
But they'll represent all the views and leave you to decide where you sit, kind of. And quite often you'll have the Brigadier, like in Green Death, you'll have the Brigadier's perspectives counted off against, Katie as the more progressive, and Joe Grant and the Professor. So you've got all sorts of different perspectives represented, and there'd be a lot of people that would sympathise with some of the views of the Brigadier in terms of wanting to eat beef.
And just for that reason that you've both brought up, I'm putting Malcolm Hulke back up because we've done 2 streams on him recently, and Michael Herbert, his biographer, will definitely be getting back on. So do tell us in the thread or email us or DM us. I'm still debating what to discuss next. Me and Michael Herbert, his biographer, are deciding what's our focus next. Have you got any ideas? So far, we've done the invasion of the dinosaurs and generically talked about Malcolm Hulke. But we know, not just Doctor Who, by the way, he's done loads of other stuff, but what would you like us to focus on? And I'm leaving it out there because I'm as paralyzed and indecisive as the Ncuti Doctor in Empire of Death. I don't know. So have a think on that one. But yeah, I did think the 70s writing was more open-ended and allowed you the space to think for yourselves a bit more. I'll be honest with you. I do.
Well, the thing is,
don't forget the faceless ones if you're doing Mac Hulke.
Yes, and that's because it's interesting, the faceless ones, in the fact that it's his first Doctor Who, and it was a joint one, wasn't it? He paired it, he was co-written, and therefore you're wondering, as a focus, was that pure Hulke? You know what I mean? There's interesting points there about, is that a different story to all the ones we saw following? If I asked you, for example, Dan, which one would you want me to do, Malcolm Hulke-wise? And I'll ask Dwayne as well, and I'll see it to the thread. Any thoughts on which one you'd love us to do? There must be an interesting reason. Invasion of the Dinosaurs I picked because I just felt it was my era. It was when Unit and Jon Pertwee, to me, was really kicking off. But anyway, what would you say, just on the spur of the moment, Dan?
I like a bit of Inferno.
Right.
Is that Mac Hulke?
Well, that's Don Horton, isn't it?
Oh, okay. It is too. Sorry.
Right, you get thinking. Dwayne, what would you reckon?
Get back to
the Green Death was, he wrote the book, but he didn't write the script. Yeah. So the book, I can see Lee. It was a great story, and he wrote it. The book is brilliant. But it was Robert Sloman, I think. Problem being, I love the Mutts, so that's the Mutants, isn't it? What would you say, Drain? What would you reckon would be
Have you done one with Michael yet? Have you done a deep dive with him yet on any of them?
We've done 2. We've done a general Malcolm Hulke one, and we've done one on Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Oh, well, that would have been one of my picks, but I would suggest Doctor Who and the Silurians, not only the TV show, but also the book, because the book is so much more complex and it goes into a lot of backstory, and it's probably the reason why he's my favorite book author. Well, one of them. Ian Marter's another great one, but Terrence Dicks he's fantastic, but he often writes just script to page. Whereas Mac Hulke and writers like him, Ian Marter as well, I mentioned, they will flesh out the stories a lot more, and Doctor Who and the Cave Monsters is a classic example of that, one of my favorite Target books.
And one thing we did say, just to reinforce what you've just said there, one thing we did say in this stream, which was the first one, we were saying that actually in the Cave Monsters, it's a really good example where he give you the viewpoint of one Silurian when I think there was a sun. It was in the preface. It was in the prologue, and you got a viewpoint of a Silurian, and one classic thing Malcolm Hulke does is he gives these little characters a role and a moment. And when we did Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I think one of the scientists had in the book, he has a scar on his face because he saved a kid when he was in a fireman. So you couldn't just hate him as a baddie. You saw him as a rounded figure. And I think that writing has, I'm not seeing it now. You know, that kind of subtlety.
No, you're not. Yeah, in the cave monsters, one of the Silurians in the preface is struggling to let go of his pets, doesn't want to let go of the furry animal pets. And so it really gives an extra dimension to the Silurians, that they're not just, an evil monster that you've got to get rid of. They're three-dimensional. So, yeah. Yeah, but you even get that in the TV show. You get that in the TV show too, but it goes even deeper in the book.
You do. I mean, I have to say, the cave monsters, the Silurians, you really feel for them, don't you? And you know that the Doctor's pained by it. It really is a good story. Now, I've asked the thread, and I'm getting every option going. So this is going to get bad. The two Peladon again of their times. Brian Hales, of course, joining the EC, the Miners' Strike. Yeah, Colony in Space is full of complexity. Yeah. Yeah, and the War Games has been mentioned a few times. So I'll have to have a think about that. Well, that's been our Detox hour ×2. It's always the same way. Thanks, Dwayne, for rushing on from your Sirens of Audio. Are you able to give us any tidbits about what's coming up?
Yes, I can. We have a couple of guests, one from the UK and someone from the Doctor Who show. I don't know if you've heard that podcast before. Is joining us today from there. We're going to be talking about the recent Big Finish release, Goth Opera, which is a audio adaptation of the 1994 Virgin Missing Adventure. Okay. The very first one, actually. Yeah, so the Big Finish have just made it as an audio.
Wow.
Cool. So yeah, sirensofaudio.com. You'll find Dwayne there. And so thank you for that. Was a lovely. I really kind of do feel detoxed. I feel as it's all off my chest. I like to let rip, and we certainly do. And the thread has been on fire. So thank you, lads. And I know you're both Australia, so have a good night. And everybody else, remember, midday tomorrow, Divining Dragon, who did that brilliant resolution to solving all the issues and the canon problems, he's on at midday tomorrow with me. And you may remember John Daly, our original panelist, right? He's back. Oh, that's a bruising panel. Two big heavyweights. Whew. Join us at midday tomorrow, folks. Good night, everyone. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.